If you spend a lot of time online, then you probably have heard of Napster. What began in 1999 as an idea in the head of a teenager proceeded to redefine the internet, the music industry, and the way we all think about intellectual property.
Napster was founded by an 18-year-old boy, Sean Fanning, a student of Northeastern University in Boston, and his uncle, John Fanning. At its founding, it was envisioned as an independent, peer-to-peer file-sharing service and gained popularity for the free online music it offered. Its technology allowed people to easily share their MP3 files with other participants. Napster was the first peer-to-peer system to become extremely popular, although, strictly speaking, it was not fully peer-to-peer. It used central servers to maintain lists of connected systems and the files they provided, while actual transactions were conducted directly between machines. The back-end system was built by Napster's chief architect, Jordan Mendelsohn. The result was a robust system whose popularity generated an enormous selection of music to download. At its peak, there were 25 million users and 80 million songs, but the system never once crashed. Napster made it relatively easy for music enthusiasts to download copies of songs that were otherwise difficult to obtain, like older songs, unreleased recordings, and songs from concert bootleg recordings. Some users felt justified in downloading digital copies of recordings they had already purchased in other formats, like LP and cassette tape.
The users simply enjoyed bartering and downloading music for free. They created a username and password and were able to make their own compilation albums on recordable CDs without paying any royalties to artists, composer, or the companies that produced their music.
The service and software program were initially Windows only, but in 2000, a Macintosh version called Maxter came out. In Napster, the metadata of the shared files were indexed on a centralized server. All the requests for locating files are served through this server. Only the actual file transfer occurred between peers. To obtain target files from Napster, a wanted list was sent to the server. The result of the query returned the IP addresses of peers possessing the wanted files. The user could select one of the returned IP addresses and download the file. When a user disconnected from the server, the list of sharing files possessed by that user was deleted from the server. Napster's facilitation of transfer of copyrighted material raised the ire of the Recording Industry Association of America, or RIAA, which filed a lawsuit against the popular service.
The service would only get bigger as the trial, meant to shut down Napster, also gave it a great deal of publicity.
Heavy metal band Metallica discovered that a demo of their song, I Disappear, had been circulating across the network even before it was released. This eventually led to the song being played on several radio stations across America. The band responded in the year 2000 by filing a lawsuit against Napster.
A month later, rapper and producer Dr. Dre filed a similar lawsuit after Napster wouldn't remove his works from their service even after he issued a written request.
Hey, Mr. DJ, put a record on. I wanna dance with my baby.
In the same year, Madonna became irate when her single, Music, leaked onto the web through Napster prior to its commercial release, causing widespread media coverage.
When the music starts, I never wanna stop. It's gonna drive basically when I started exploring internet in the very beginning, then the whole concept of downloading music and it wasn't as popular as it is now. It wasn't available like that. So I think it was just at the point of time when they were kind of shutting down in a way. The whole free download thing was shutting down. I think around 99 2000.
The music industry made the following claims against Napster: that its users were directly infringing the plaintiff's copyrights, that Napster was liable for contributory infringement of the plaintiff's copyrights, that Napster was liable for vicarious infringement of the plaintiff's copyrights. The court ordered Napster to monitor the activities of its network and to block access to infringing material when notified of that material's location. Napster was unable to do this, and so shut down its service in July 2001. Napster finally declared itself bankrupt in 2002 and sold its assets.
Napster's logo and brand were eventually acquired by Best Buy. Today, it is a pay-per-song music download site.
Napster is now a pay site. It offers annual, monthly, and quarterly plans. Although on its list I couldn't find some of my favorite songs like Aces High and Hallowed Be Thy Name. For those songs, I visit sites such as BMP3 or I download torrents from sites like Demonoid.
Even after Napster shut down, projects like Gnutella successfully followed the peer-to-peer file sharing practice.
The programs became smarter and worked a little differently.
Nutella is another P2P file sharing client, something like torrents. In this, each computer acts as a server. Files from one person's computer gets uploaded and then downloaded from another person's computer.
In a network protocol like Gnutella, you type in the name of the song or file you want to find. Your machine knows of at least one other Gnutella machine somewhere on the network. Your machine sends the song name you typed in to the Gnutella machines it knows about. A request has a TTL, or time to live, limit placed on it. A request might go out 6 or 7 levels deep before it stops propagating. If each machine on the Gnutella network knows of just 4 others, that means that your request might reach 8,000 or so other machines on the Gnutella network if it propagates 7 levels deep.
From Nutella, you can download and upload any types of files ranging from MP3 to AVI to MPEG and to text documents.
It is an extremely simple and clever way of distributing a query to thousands of machines very quickly.
I download music nearly every day. I download heavy metal music, I download old school rock music, I download jazz, I download blues, I download Woodstock music. Or I put it all in my phone and listen to it on the go. Or I download FLAC files and listen to it on a big music system. FLAC files give a clean sound, very clean sound, and it's lossless. Yes, FLAC files are far larger, about 10 times the size of your average MP3. Last thing I downloaded was a collection of Eric Clapton songs. It took me 2 hours. I used torrents. I downloaded the torrent from Demonoid and I used the uTorrent client to finish the download.
Do you feel guilty downloading all that music?
Well, to a certain extent, yes. The musician is losing out on a chunk of his profits. But on the plus side, this is advertising him to audiences around the world. And if they really like his music and they really want to support him, they will buy better quality files in the form of CDs from stores. They'll go to his concerts, and thus the musician will become more famous in the end. Napster was closed down and penalized because it encouraged sharing. Now, sharing is a basic human nature, it's a basic human trait. It's been there long before the internet era, long before computers came into existence. I'm sure during my mother and father's time, They used to share their audio cassettes, their LP records, and they weren't penalized for sharing at all. So why should a site which encourages exposure, musical exposure, be to so many people, be shut down?
The controversy spurred by Napster is still one of the greatest internet related debates. Just because we can get the music we want without paying for it, should we?
Yeah, I have done that. I have done that a lot, and yes, I'm very ashamed to say that, but yes, at times I download that too, but only international music, nothing, no regional music, because it's a very small market. This whole regional thing, and if instead of buying the CDs, people are actually downloading music, then the whole industry kind of goes for a toss. It definitely act as a platform for these new bands or new groups or new artists. For them, something like Napster was a very positive thing. Because of Napster, they got an audience. It helped them to spread their music. But for a band like Metallica or an artist like Madonna, they were already well known, and for them it wasn't really positive. It was more on the negative side, because their music was being downloaded for free. So there are two sides to this whole thing. Maybe through download I can get hold of a Brazilian band, which normally I wouldn't. I wouldn't even hear of them. So of course there are really positive sides to it. It spreads music. I mean, that's a huge thing. That's very important.
Yes, but the scale and speed of sharing in the pre digital era was nothing compared to Napster's P2P sharing.
This is my favorite torrent site. I download all my files from here.
আমি একটু তালে তালে হাততালি পেতে পারি? না না, তালে তালে আমি তাল দেবো, সেই তালে হাততালি দিচ্ছি। সবাই তৈরি? চলো। এই তালে চাই।
When it comes to the live shows, the revenues we generate from the live shows, naturally, if your music is spreading, people know about it. You get called for different performances. We do get that. But on the downside, the royalty from the CDs are hardly anything nowadays. You hardly get anything from that. So again, you have both the sides here.
There is a kind of conflict between the moral aspect of the question and the legal aspect. It may be possible in some cases that doing a copy of something is not immoral because it hurts nobody, but it is illegal none the same. So how to put the two together?
We are living in strange times. On one hand, singers and musicians are getting an audience they could not have dreamt of a decade back. On the other hand, sale of recorded music is taking a nosedive. Captains of the culture industry are finding it difficult to sustain themselves. The internet has split open the cultural borders. Musicians, living in two opposite ends of the globe, are influencing each other's work more than ever before.
In the recent times, especially in the last 30 years or so, because of the spread of these things, these are intangible properties, properties of the mind as they're sometimes called, they've been traveling at a rate and traveling at a pace which was not there before, which was not witnessed before. It's an unprecedented kind of, especially after the satellite communications came into existence and internet came. So the Berne Convention and all these things, they have to be rethought. There are sort of, there are new laws and new contracts have been forced into existence. For example, the GATT or WTO, for example. All these have to be taken into consideration in the context, in the changed context of a global traffic of patents and trademarks and copyrights and related issues, where not only the Monsanto seeds travel or their genetic coding is thought to be traveling, there are also other things, more intangible things that, software, this and that, all kinds of things, DVD encryption code and so on, which is a very famous case. So what happened was that the intellectual property, IP as it is called, has become more and more contentious because of this open borders, satellite communications, internet and so on.
The intellectual goods are immaterial. You cannot take them in your hands. And as such, since they are becoming more and more important in the economy, a new type of economy is developing. And we have in India 3 types already. First was the economy, rural agricultural economy. One is dealing with a material object, contrary to intellectual. A material object, but living object. But then came a second type of economy, which we have, the industrial economy, also dealing with material objects, but contrary to the first, dealing with living objects, here we are dealing with dead objects. And the mindset of people living in that era is often that of capitalism. You accumulate as much as you can. Then comes our intellectual goods, and they are immaterial, and from there come out all sorts of characteristics which we are not used so far, and about which we have to think. Otherwise we get into all sorts of discussions that are at times faulty, not correct. So the main characteristic is that once you have produced one good, intellectual good, say a song, to make several copies of it is easy. And that's a good opening for one who wants to do it for money. But this advantage from a business point of view is also a kind of pitfall for the system, because if it is easy to copy it, then people are bound to do it if they have the necessary equipment. And strangely, the system in which we live, with very strong limitations on copying, give us machines to copy. So what do we do with them if we don't copy? This is the information economy, agricultural, industrial, and information economy in which we are living. But in India, we have the 3, somewhat trying to manage together.
Years back, Igor Stravinsky had used the sound of aeroplanes in his composition, Rite of Spring. Today there are musicians who create their own musical collage with strains of music and noise picked up from diverse sources, although borrowed from different sources. These musical pieces are their own creation, their unique self-expression.
Why should the law sometimes try to guard an individual proprietorship or authorship, where actually it's very difficult to show that person is quote unquote a creator of something? Music, for example, is very difficult. There are musicologists who have been arguing for a long time, who haven't heard of intellectual property, but they've been arguing for a long time that we don't create music. We don't quote unquote create music. People create it. We take from our musical traditions. You actually cannot create. I can't argue on this count for too long because I'm not a musicologist. You need real sort of solid expert knowledge on that. But it seems a respectable argument. It's very difficult. I can break down your musical tune. I can show that a little bit of Ram Prasad has gone into it, a little bit of Beethoven has gone into it, a little bit of Bhattiyali has gone into it. So what about that?
Some people believe that the days of IPR are numbered. In the next episode, we shall closely examine the issues of intellectual property rights.